Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with everyone here. First, I'd like to acknowledge the seniors of Australia, the ones that build this count for us. Um, they are they are not invisible. They are they deserve to be seen. They deserve to be cared with dignity and love. I hope today, but first, I would like to say that my little cute accent is brain stimulation for your brain for free because the brain loves new things. But jokes aside, I would like, I hope in the end you might change the way that you see dementia care. So to start, what I like to talk is about behavior and why important we understand the brain. Usually people talk about, behavior, brain, and we actually doesn't understand in a very clear way to talk. So let's start. That's my brain. Because my accent, I am from Brazil, but my parents are from Italy. I do talk with my hands, so I have to hold my brain. Otherwise, you guys are going to be confused. um, the first things I see everyone here talk what's dementia. I want to say what's dementia for me. We cannot forget the word dementia means someone is telling they cannot see my contact. Is everyone seeing the first slide?
I think sometimes people have a bit of trouble with the slides. The best thing to do is to pop in and pop out again. Sometimes that reboots it.
Okay,
but
I'm okay with that.
certainly see them.
All right. So the word dementia, just for curiosity, means without mind. Back in the time, we don't have MRI, PET scan. We don't have so much technology to understand what's inside the brain. So people that would behave kind of odd, confused, don't remember why they signed to buy the new castle. People will say that people has dementia. They are without mind. But we know, thank God, with the technology and a lot of studies, thank you to our research, we understand that dementia is not just being feel confused or have a loss of memory, cannot remember things. So dementia is just that, is a group of symptoms or a group of condition. It's not disease. I usually listen to the public that comes and talk with me. Oh, my mom has dementia. And then I have to correct it. Your mom has she doesn't have dementia. She has a disease that produce types of symptoms. That's a group of symptoms the scientists decide to call dementia, this group of symptoms. Um, Saying that, we know now that dementia is a group of symptoms. So when a disease like Alzheimer or Lewy body, or if you have a vascular disease in your brain, attack your brain. So I'm just moving the slide here. Attack your brain. That actually is a physical injury. It's like someone breaking your legs or having a heart attack. It's a disease that's attacking the brain. That disease that's going to produce this group of symptoms that we call dementia, that's going to attack our cognitive. Cognitive, it's where we part of our brain that basically tell who we are because we can thinking, we can plan, we can make decisions, we can remember things, we can understand things. But how that disease that's attack the cognitive part of the brain can lead with a big problems for that human being. So the dementia is not just a memory loss or the person start to become confused. As I said before, the brain is under attack of a disease. This disease attack the neurons. that's the brain cells. These brain cells all together, they communicate, they do a lot of things together. They can produce a skill, ability. All together, they can actually be who you are. When that disease is attacking that neurons in their dying, they are getting disconnection lost. The connections are breaking, lost. It's like when I want to call someone using my internet and my internet is not good, my conversation start breaking down. The person that I'm trying to contact, he cannot have the full information because my voice is cracking down. That's kind of what's happening inside the brain. The signs can be delayed or never arrive. When we things that people we talk about this brain, but inside this brain has layers. And we have one layer here that actually born with us, actually is developed while we are in our mom's tummy. We call the primitive brain, the survival brain. And that brain only does one thing 24 hours. That brain born with us and has just one goal. And just to make one question, 24 hours of our life. Am I safe? Am I safe? When this brain is under stress, any stress, environmental stress, or a stress that's caused by a disease like Alzheimer or vascular dementia, this primitive brain is starting reacting more. The primitive brain, that's the oldest part, is the oldest part of the brain, keep us alive, just that. So make us breathe, make us, all our body, our heart beating, but has no logical, doesn't think, doesn't plan. Who does that is the other part of our brain that called cortex. That one, think, plan. The primitive brain doesn't has any logical, but he feels and feels, react. And that's not something that's helping a brain living under dementia attack. Any human, since you're born until your last day in the earth, your brain actually react, feels, and react. The classic one that we always, who study psychologists, always learn. And sometimes if you have children and teenagers, sometimes you want to listen fight, fly, freeze. That's happening with any human. But we have to remember a brain under dementia, under attack of dementia, the survival mode, the primitive mode actually is going to be more, not more important, but is going to show more than the cortex because we know the neurons is dying, that connection is not happening how it's supposed to do. So the cortex, the thinking brain, is so confused because they want to plan, they want to do a task, but is cutting down the information. So the survival mode say, hey, am I safe? So when we see people living with dementia, we always talk about their behavior because, again, the survive mode, the primitive brain is going to feel and react. It's very fast, it's automatic, it's very emotional. This primitive brain is really emotional. When a cognitive decline, when the person has their cognitive declining, the thinking brain become louder. And then we see more behaviors, but that's not behavior. That's the primitive brain responses. So now I'm going to talk about how we can support these behaviors. One thing that has to be very clear, behavior is communication. A baby, when crying, what he wants to tell us first, is he hungry? Is the diaper wet? Is he lack of attention? If he wants just we carry them, he's bored. He doesn't know language yet, so he's going to cry. So that behavior is a communication. When we have teenagers, behavior, oh my God, what they are trying to tell us would be so easy. Sometimes we tell them, could you please use your words? Because it makes it easy for us to understand. With a person living with dementia, what's happened? They lost that ability to wording, so the brain cannot more recollect it. Word and action. So the brain is going to tell us, tell us how we can tell another human how you feel. So that's so important. We understand that we start and stop judging in dementia care behavior. I want to talk 3 real stories so you can have a better understand. First, this little first person, he's Paul. Paul, he has Alzheimer's disease. Paul used to be a builder. Since he was little one, he likes to create and do things. When he grow up, he building houses, he built everything. But when he starting showing signs of dementia, of course, he's going to decline his cognitive. And he was not more safe at home, just for one reason. People say to me, he was wandering. First, I don't call wandering, I call explorer. They actually is exploring. Why? Because the brain remember, imagine someone 80 years old, how much information that brain has storage. And we know the last memories to go away is the one that when you were young. So when Paul was young, he was full builder, full of imagination. He was Australian man, typical Australian man, like go fishing, like go to swim, like go to the bush. He was out all the time. His body was full of movement. So that information is still storage in his brain, actually telling who is Paul. Paul is a man that used to do a lot of movement with his body, a lot of movement with his hand. You build the thing with his hand. Unfortunately, with the dementia, the dementia break up that message. But the brain is I talk to the brain like a third person. The brain sometimes, they have like personality problem. They say, who is Paul? Who are you, Paul? Because I know Paul used to be a very active man, but then another part of the brain says, sorry, we don't have more that information, Paul. We don't know more actually how to build a house. So the brain become really under stress. So what's the brain says to Paul? Are you safe? And Paul says, in a residential care, nope. I need to go. I need to walk. I need to build something. But again, Paul, the cortex, the part of the brain that say, yes, Paul, to build a house, we do this, that's that's gone. It's all confused. So Paul is going to wandering. He's going to go out. He's going to try to find himself. He's going to try safety. And people tells me maybe he's trying to go back to his home when he was young. Could be. But most like the brain try find himself. It's why important when you have a client or a loved one that like to explore and they like to go, and sometimes they like to go nighttime, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And the brain so smart, they can even open the boats, whatever you make it, the brain still have that skills. We need to make Paul use a lot of his male energy movement during the day. When when the brain is busy doing something that can connect it with Paul, who is Paul actually, just wondering tend to get easy and easy. And one thing that before I finish the Paul story, we have to understand male brain is so different of woman brain. And what happened when you talk about dementia care, we put the two brain together and we manage it or we try and make a care plan. Just think about one brain. But no way my brain is like a main brain. We do think different, we do feel different, and our brain actually is different. All the emotion, the chemistry in the brain works in a different way. So Paul as a man has that male energy. He needs movement, less talk, more movement, more action, more build things, more logical. That's Paul. So if you have a Paul in your life, that could be a great tip for you support his brain. The second story I would like to talk is about Mary. When I met Mary, the staff was telling me Mary was a really aggressive woman in the morning, especially around the personal care. She will refuse everything and she can spit on you, she could bite you, she could throw whatever she has around you in your face. And I become very brave in that day and I went to meet Mary. And first I try connected with Mary because connections always come first. Before any task, we have to connect. Before I tell people what to do, we have to connect it. It's why, and that's a humor. This is what I like when I speak in dementia care. Actually, I'm not talking about just people living with dementia. I'm talking with any human. If I come to you, you don't know me, and I start telling you, could you please make a call for me? Could you please go have your shower now? If I start to give you commands and direction, and we are not related, I you don't know nothing for me, how do you think I'm gonna react? Do you think I will, okay, I'm doing what you want to do, or I will be more reserved and not that keen? So when I went to meet Mary, I introduced myself and I want to know more about her. So the first session, we were just discussing about what she was watching the TV and things about life, how sometimes life is getting really bored and confused for everyone, just not for people living with dementia. And I realized observing the staff, because in some place you have a chart of showers, so the staff feel calm and very polite. They are great. They will say, "Good morning, Mary. I am Daniela. I'm here to support you with your shower. Are you ready? What clothes are you going to use today? Let's open, start picking up things." And that brain, that's not Mary, it's her brain. They say, what clothes? Or what is clothes? What is shower? And the brain start retrieve all that information, recollected all that information in few seconds. That's not going to happen. So the brain is saying, you are not safe, Mary. Fight, fight, and fly. How you fight and fly when you are not in danger? You're gonna chew, fight. You're gonna push people. You're gonna come on, fight with me. So that moment, the primitive brain is loud, is yelling in Mary's scream, run, you are not safe. Of course, sometimes because their mobility, they cannot run. So they you react the way they can. They you bite you, they you touch your hand, they you swear to you. That's is the resource in that moment that brain has. So the solution that I could support the staff, but most to support Mary is to have the connection first. So I teach the staff. Shower is important, of course. Hygiene is important, but more important is the staff or the family. It's like you go inside their brain. When you inside their brain, actually, you can help them more. So with Mary, first was okay, the brain doesn't recognize the word shower. Maybe the brain doesn't recognize the feeling, the nice feeling of the right temperature water in your body. Maybe the brain doesn't recognize what is dress up for the day. All that vocabulary, the brain cannot recognize. They know the word, but the brain cannot see the scene. Remember, the thinking brain, the logical brain, is under attack. So with Mary, I recommend the staff start doing first connection to get to know Mary, to have that very nice conversation, very positive conversation, and start doing water activities. So first, maybe a wet flannel, very nice, touch the hand. So that brain starts, he drives that information about how good it is for a human, and we need touch for human. How good is that touch feeling? And we start like that. And then slowly, slowly, in a very gentle, that can take weeks, Mary was able to have a shower. But again, because the brain cannot keep that recent information, the next day is going to happen again. But there is no more Mary problem. That's our problem. Because we already know how to go inside Mary brain. So the next day, when Mary again start having the same communication with us, we already know how to do. So things you get easy eventually. And the third story is about Anna. When I met Anna, Anna used to cry a lot, especially in the before sleep. Like she has her dinner, after 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, she'll cry, and she will sometimes ask for her mom. And so Anna was living with the family, so that was quite stress. Every day, that problem, or almost every day, that problem. Again, I went to see Anna, lovely lady. She have vascular dementia, but she was really, really gorgeous lady. When I met her, I have to observe her because sometimes it's not the brain. Sometimes we blame dementia about everything. Most of the time, I'm against dementia. I hate dementia, but sometimes dementia has nothing to do with that. We are going to talk very soon about that. But I have to observe everything. When I go see someone, I see the person, I check the brain, but I check the environment, I check who is next to that person, I check everything. If I have to find someone to blame, I investigate everything. And I start to observe there is a pattern. So she has her dinner. And then after 1 hour and 2 hours, she was crying. And then one day, I want to know what's the menu, what she's eating. So the people telling me she eats this, but she loves to eat 2 slices of bread with butter. She eat more the bread, actually, the food. She was a small person, but 2 slices of bread. And I have a talk with her GP, and I asked him to investigate a few things. And the GP did brilliant and found out that she has a really bad reflux. So that was, so she'll have their food, and then she's going to start presenting symptoms of the reflux, and then she was crying without stopping, calling her mother because Anna was in pain. That's it. The GP prescribed the medication, so after a while, she's good to go. She stopped crying. She became the gorgeous person that I met, that the family would tell me. So pain would be a reason for a lot of behavior, a lot of communication. Again, because the brain cannot recollect. A person that has no cognitive issues, with the cortex is function 24 hours in a perfect way, you'll tell, I feel a pain. Should I go to my doctor? Should I take that medication? Should I tell my family? That's the brain, high functional brain will do. A brain that's under attack, most likely won't tell about pain. So we have to understand what that behavior wants to try tell us. So that's the three real stories. And I have been seeing so much Paul's, Mary's, and Anna behaving or communicating like that. Just one thing about that I forgot, I just saw in my notes here. Sometimes we see people present these behaviors that I call communication methods, and then we blame dementia. We say, oh, that person is getting worse, worse, worse. And again, that's, I can, we try blaming dementia, but sometimes, yes, dementia is guilt because it's attacking the part of the brain that actually can support the person to tell us the full story. But sometimes, or almost the time, is because is second things happen that's not the dementia. The person cannot just tell us. And as I explained before, most of the time when I see people, when people ask me about to observe someone about their behavior, so most of the time is the environment. Is the environment stress more than brain that dementia. Um, our brain, we absorb everything, noise, the smell, the colors, or if someone touches us too much. Our brain gets really, really overwhelmed if this happens all the time in a very high mode. I like to give that example that then we don't blame dementia. If you go to supermarket in Australia, and I hope if someone work in the supermarket here, please, let's make a deal. I know the supermarkets make 1 hour free quiet time. Let's make a deal. Let's make it different. 1 hour, very busy, very noise, and the rest of the hours very calm. I promise you, your selling is going to grow by the roof because when you are in a quiet space, we can shopping more. So I love that example of supermarket. We go in the supermarket in Saturday morning when it's all the families is with the beautiful children, and then you have a music, and then you have people talking, you have children running, children crying, people talking loud about the prices. And then you stand in front of the bread aisle and you see 30 types of breads, And then your brain have to find what bread you want, and then you have the gluten-free bread, you have wholemeal bread, you have high protein bread. It's so much information for your brain. And then you have all this background noise. How you feel after? I feel overwhelmed. It's why people feel they need a coffee after shopping, or the supermarket already put the energetic drinks to be sold because you need that extra of energy to keep going in your day. And I understand now how people has shopping day. Has to be that day because that day when you do your shopping, that's gone. That day gone. It's too much stress for your brain. So a person that is trying telling us, that's behaving, that's like message us what's happening. If the environment is too much stress, colors, the furniture, we cannot respond in the same way. And then again, we are going to blame dementia because his dementia is getting worse. It's not. Did you see the room? So much pictures, so much colors. That light glare, that light's terrible. Oh, too much noise. Too much and so much information. So it's not about the person, it's about the environment. So we have actually um, to pay attention. It's why when I work, I don't say dementia care, I say human care, because that's good for all the brain. Um, and what I want to say is behind every behavior, there is a brain trying to cope and a human try to be understood. So we don't stop behavior because behavior is communication, it's part of being human. But we have to learn to listen. Um, when I said before, that's not just about dementia care, it's about human care. When we learn that that person, that brain, it's not, when I say stress, I like it to clarify. Sometimes we are stressed. We have bills to pay. We have children, have husband, we have a life, we have a lot of commitment. So we tell our friend, I'm so stressed today. That's I stress. But what I'm talking about is a brain that has a disease attacking that brain. And that brain is stress by itself. It's already stress. And sometimes I am as a carer or a staff, I give more stress to that brain, the environment brain, the person that's supporting that person. When you understand that brain is under stress, we have to feel empathic with that brain. I tell people, if you broke your leg, or not you, but your partner has a broken leg. Okay, so the first day he come home with a cast, you're going to do everything for that man, especially men. Men is like they're going to lose their leg. It's how their brain works. You are going to support that person because he broke his leg. It's nothing different from the brain. The brain gets a physical injury by a disease that produces symptoms, dementia symptoms. You are not going to ask the guy with the broken leg, okay, today I did so much for you, but tomorrow I know you run. You can run. You can run with your broken leg. Are you going to do this with a brain living with dementia? No. It's a every day a remind for yourself that person is still the person that you know, is still Paul, is still Mary, is still Anna, is still who they are. What is the brain? So when you know how to deal with the brain and you make the primitive brain feel cared, feel safety. You are safe, primitive brain. You can relax. That behaviors that's annoying us, that we don't want to do, is starting easing down. But it's an everyday process. Thanks so much to listen for me. I hope from my heart, from today, you can see things differently. See you next time. If you'd like more information, I would like to invite you to, let me put the next, oh, it's not here. I'd like invite you to follow my page on Facebook that called Neurons, Love and Chaos, or my LinkedIn, Daniela Russo. I see you next time. Thanks so much.